When we hear the words fair trade, our mind usually goes to African cocoa farmers, Indian textile workers, or Caribbean banana growers. But what about Britain? Are we always aware of the unfairness of trade here? It's recently been reported that coronavirus cases are disproportionately high in the garment industry in places like Leicester. Not all our clothes come from China or Bangladesh. There are people in Britain doing the same kind of work for low wages, in unsatisfactory conditions, and without proper social distancing in place. In the past year, many people have been working from home, but this is mainly a privilege for the better off people. The poorer people have had to endanger their health by going to work whether they like it or not. We do a lot of our shopping online these days, very quick and convenient, and sometimes we are surprised to see how cheap things are. But how much do we know about the workers in warehouses or so-called fulfillment centres who make this possible? Even worse, in Britain, as in other countries, there is a hidden problem of people trafficking and slave labour. Here too we need to be aware that if a price seems too good to be true, it's probably too good to be right. The Fair Trade Foundation, quite understandably, doesn't work with British farmers. Their situation is not as dire as that of cocoa or coffee farmers in other parts of the world, because here in this country we have the safety net of the welfare state and the health service. But that doesn't alter the fact that many British farmers go through anxiety and distress because of market conditions and various other things. They too can find themselves sometimes working hard and making a loss instead of a profit. The purpose of the Fair Trade movement is to combat poverty and hunger in other parts of the world, but hunger exists here in this country too. It's being alleviated in many places by food banks, and it's wonderful that so many generous, neighbourly people are supporting food banks, not only by contributing, but by the bigger commitment of working in them as volunteers. But this shouldn't tempt us to forget that in a country as affluent as ours, it's disgraceful that food banks should be necessary at all. And even more so that there are people who are not unemployed, but working hard and still unable to feed their families without the help of a food bank. Fair Trade Fortnight is largely an educational project, making people aware of the nature of global trade and what can be done to improve it. Naturally, the Fair Trade Foundation concentrates much of its work on schools, because the best hope for a fairer world is that a new generation grows up aware of these issues. But surely the terrible irony of this situation is that some of the children being taught about it are hungry themselves. This past year has seen controversy about the school meals issue. Children have been going hungry because they've not been having free meals during the holidays or when the schools are closed because of lockdown. The young footballer Marcus Rashford has become a national hero because of his stand on this issue and his outstanding personal example of generosity. But how many of us have stopped to ask the question, why do children have to go to school in order to eat? It's sensible that schools should provide a midday meal for the convenience of children who live at some distance from their school. But when children go hungry because they're not in school, there's surely something very wrong. It's not just a matter of the physical hunger, it's a matter of families being deprived of the simple human dignity of being able to feed their own children. We need a fundamental change in society in this country and in the whole world, a change in the whole way we relate to each other as human beings. Such a change would involve big companies, national governments and international cooperation, but the good news is that it can begin with you and me. We are all consumers. The big companies and the entrepreneurs can offer us all sorts of goods and services, but they can only make their profit if we buy them. The end of the chain of production, processing, distribution, marketing is you and me, the consumers. Those of us who have even a little bit of spare money don't always realise how much power we have through making careful, responsible decisions about what to buy, where to buy it, and what not to buy at all. Here in Wales we've been celebrating St David's Day and thinking of his famous saying, "Do the little things." I sometimes think that the three little words, "no thank you," have power to change the world.